Welcome to this episode of the podcast. So, shortly following the last episode that I shared, which was really all about, tuning into vision and allowing that to be a companion, like purpose as the path rather than a destination. So, shortly after that, I had this download connection piece show up that really served me in a big way. And when I shared it, I had multiple people reach out and say, this is exactly what I needed to hear today. Thank you. And, I really genuinely believe that these things show up for us, not just for us, right? Like it's meant to be for the collective. Everything that we're going through or navigating or challenged with is in service to the whole. We're not separate from. We're part of the entirety, this web of life. And so I'd like to share it here because it feels like one of those things that can help us to connect some dots that maybe were unconnected or disconnected before. So I spoke to this concept of the mitote in the last episode. And this is a concept that Don Miguel Ruiz shares. And it's a really beautiful and symbolic understanding of all of the beliefs that we've internalized from childhood. And so the mitote is this dream of the planet or the dream of the people. That's how it's described by Don Miguel Ruiz. And it's interesting because as children we're born into these family and community systems, right? And we're given these dreams of the planet and of the people. And not necessarily liberated dreams, right? Like this isn't like high aspirations or for your highest and best your vision. Really, it's the beliefs that have been internalized over time, often due to necessity or trauma. All trauma is rooted in necessity and and just adaptations. So because these beliefs weren't freely chosen, right? And because they were internalized at such a young age, it's very often and very likely that these beliefs aren't actually in service. They aren't actually in tune with our highest good, with the vision that's seeking to move through us, with our art, what it is that we're being asked to share. Our magic, our gifts. And they certainly don't serve us when we're faced with challenges that are particularly relational, so like between people. They don't serve us when they show up in those ways and they have us ignoring or turning away from our truth. These internalized beliefs can be so insidious, so challenging. And the thing that I wanted to speak to is how when these beliefs are, in direct conflict with our liberation or with free choice, how uncomfortable it can be for our nervous systems, how dysregulating it can be for our nervous systems. And so what I spoke to in the share that I offered is that so often we choose things that we believe are safe or comfortable for our nervous system. And it's beautiful that there's so much conversation and language around the nervous system and even just attention paid. Like how beautiful is that? I remember well, I can go back quite a ways. But even touching into the space like postpartum, when I had for sure, my son, I was like, my nervous system was so dysregulated. And I was in postpartum depression for sure. But there wasn't a lot of language out there. There wasn't a lot of help. I did not feel loved or supported in that. I did not understand what was going on in my body or in my mind. And then fast forward a number of years, and I was in the experience of anxiety for the first time in my life in a way that I really didn't understand. And that was what set me on the path of starting to understand and get language and get perspective on how the nervous system and the role of trauma really affects the experience of the nervous system and where anxiety kind of comes in. And I would go even deeper now that I understand a little bit more about what anxiety is pointing to. I would go deeper and say that it was actually a spiritual gift, like this really beautiful divine gift, because anxiety always points to a call for higher wisdom, always, like no exceptions. And oh my goodness. Okay, I think I just named another podcast episode or theme or topic. So I'm really grateful for all of the language that has come out around like the nervous system and better understanding and understanding brain states and like just better understanding the mind and the body and somatics and like all of these pieces. And however, I've noticed that there's this trend, and I do believe more awareness is coming into the forefront to like really maybe challenge this, but there's a trend of choosing things that are good or safe for our nervous systems, right? Activation is like the enemy. We try to avoid being activated in our nervous system. And I genuinely believe that this is a bit of a problem. And I have chosen so many things in my life based on the belief or the idea that they would be good for my nervous system. They would help to have me feeling safe and calm and regulated. So choosing those things that help me to feel safe and calm and regulated. People, situations, experiences, whatever it might be. I was seeing dysregulation of my nervous system as basically like the enemy in a lot of ways. And, looking back now at this concept of the mitote, right? Like this dream of the planet and of the people. That dream that was planted in us, those beliefs are what helped us to feel safe as children. And because of that, and because they became internalized beliefs, right? Part of the collective unconscious, essentially. Because of that, when we get older and we still hold those internalized beliefs, anything that challenges those beliefs, that dream of the planet and of the people, it will necessarily shake some shit up. Like it will have you feeling uncomfortable and potentially dysregulated and potentially unsafe. And now I'm not going to, tell you to go out and look for things and circumstances and situations and people that make your nervous system feel unsafe. Like that's not what I'm pointing to here. It's much more nuanced than that. What I am sharing is that choosing things and people and circumstances and situations based on this belief that we need to stay in a safe and regulated nervous system is missing the point. If we want to live in free choice, if we want to live from a liberated experience of belief and of being so fully in our gifts that we're offering something of great value to the collective. Maybe helping to evolve the dream of the planet, maybe helping to remove beliefs altogether in that way. Bringing your gifts, your magic, your medicine into the world. Oftentimes, it will challenge your nervous system. And that's okay. And yeah, I can speak to this one with all honesty that it's not always easy. Sometimes it's downright uncomfortable. And being resourced, having some tools, having people who can hold you in that and help see you through those times is so invaluable. It's what's needed. And I love, so there's this quote that Don Miguel Ruiz shares. He says, "Don't believe me, don't believe yourself, don't believe anyone else," or, in whatever order that might be. Don't believe me, don't believe yourself, don't believe anybody else. Essentially, those three components, right? It's the belief that's the issue. We're bumping up against deeply held beliefs, even our own deeply held beliefs, but really in their essence, they're not free beliefs. It's not free choice. It's part of that collective unconscious that seeks to create sameness, that seeks to create control in a lot of ways, and gives us the illusion of safety and comfort and love and belonging. And because we are social beings, we often put that up above everything else, that sense of belonging, that need to feel accepted and loved and appreciated. And so to resource ourselves when we're working on these pieces of starting to bring parts of us out, like new beliefs and new potentialities, like so important. So anytime we want to make a shift or a change in our life, anytime we want to move into a space of free choice, free belief, we're likely going to bump up against this mitote, these internalized beliefs. Yeah. And one of the other pieces that I spoke to that feels really important to share is that, when we're starting to touch into these free beliefs, these free choices, it's often difficult for the people that are closest to us. Because what often ends up happening is the people that are benefiting currently, or at least like just familiar with who we are when we're in that pretend, right? When we're in the upholding of the mitote or the dream of the planet and the people. They know us in that way. And not only do they know us in that way and benefit from it in some way, right? Because it's just familiar. They also likely share a lot of the same internalized beliefs, right? The same internalized collective unconscious. So when you start to move and shift and maybe come from a different place and bring up new potentialities and beliefs and changes, it's unsettling for everybody. It's also freeing and liberating for everybody, which is why it's so important in my belief. Like, this is part of my liberated aspect of belief. I genuinely feel that it is so important that we challenge this collective unconscious and we start to come from these new places of free belief. When we do that, it helps to liberate others. And the reason why this is so important is because the more people that are coming from this place of free choice, of free belief, the more resourced we will all be. The more we will actually inherently seek to offer love and support and essentially belonging to all those in our collective. We're not separate. And so if I'm in my medicine, if I'm in my magic, if I'm in my free choice, and you are too, like, wow, what is possible? We're in the resonant field in a way that's so full of potentiality. It's not collapsed into it has to be exactly like this in order to belong, in order to feel safe. We're so full of potentiality, like anything is possible. Imagine the problems that could be solved. Imagine what it just might mean for our children, who would be loved and accepted for exactly who they are, who perhaps wouldn't be required to internalize the same beliefs. Like, imagine if that's what we were taught as children, right? Like, come up with your own beliefs. Like, I can't wait to discover what you find out. I can't wait to witness that. Like, wow. I can't wait to see what medicine and magic you choose to bring to the world. Yeah. Man, that feels like really tender, and yeah, I feel a grief in it. Like for the little one inside of me who I can still feel is like clings to that need to belong, that need for safety, and for all of the times that I abandoned her in service of safety. I didn't listen to her and opted for the comfortable. And what I recognize is, like, even in that grief, there's an invitation. There's an invitation that as we go through this process of choosing free belief, like, there's a gentle holding that needs to happen. There's a really beautiful book by Thich Nhat Hanh called Reconciliation. And it's all about inner child work and like reconciling with that little one inside of us. And this just reminds me of that. It's a beautiful book if you have an opportunity to read or listen. Yeah. And so may that be part of the invitation. You know, as we begin to step into this new world of like free choice, and we start to reclaim some of this energy, because that's what happens anytime there's a place where we've chosen an internalized belief that is not in accordance with our higher good, with our higher nature, and in terms of like our medicine, our magic, like anytime we do that, we like trap energy. And so the moment we start to let go, or we replace that with a liberated belief, like the energy starts to come back. It's like all of that energy that was so tightly wound and bound becomes available to us now. Right? And this can be so simple. Like imagine, like there's so many internalized beliefs, but if I'm just to give you an example. So imagine one of the beliefs of this mitote is that, you know, you have to like don't stand out too much. Just get along, get along to get along. And then a liberated belief to that would be like shine as bright as you can, like be all of you. The world needs your magic. The world needs your medicine. So feel like those are so different. And so once I start to bring that back to me, like I I adopt this free choice of belief, all of this energy now becomes available to me to continue the process. And in that process, we do need to tend to that little one, because again, it can be destabilizing along the way. So slowly, gently, kindly. And this is where I love to weave in meditation and breathwork practices and affirmation. And now I'm speaking to this inner child work, and I think that's really important also. So how beautiful that we've learned so much, and we're really learning how to resource in these ways. Yeah. So this start of the conversation feels important. It feels tender. It feels exciting for me. Like, wow, what happens when I live from this place of free belief? Like, what is possible? What is even possible? I'm so excited to find out. That's it for this chat. Yeah, I'm sending you so much love and many blessings.